Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, welcome back for another video, and I thought in this video we could go through some of my underrated romantasy books. And I do think some of these are really criminally underrated. I do not hear people talking about these enough. Maybe this will just convince you to read them because you definitely should. So I thought let's just dive straight in. So the first book is The Road of Bones by Demi Winters. This is Viking romantasy. This is criminally underrated as a series, and the third book has just come out this year and I still haven't read it yet. It is on my top priority to read. But the first book is The Road of Bones, the second book is Kingdom of Claw. I think I rated the first book 5 stars and the second book is 6 stars. This is like a really top rated series for me. This follows our female main character Scylla. Now her and her father were on the run. They were being chased by the Queen's assassins and her father got unalived, so now she's all on her own. She doesn't know what to do and she's in these really dangerous woods where there's lots of creatures that can eat her. She will easily be unalived. She's defenseless on her own, so she sneaks into the Blood Axe Crew's wagon. Now this is like a group of mercenaries, so they do odd jobs for clients, so they kill creatures. They're very well known and very scary, and she doesn't realise that she's climbed into their wagon. They end up finding her. She ends up striking a deal with the leader of the group and he is very skeptical of her. He thinks that she's hiding things. There's a lot of mystery around this that I can't even explain to you properly because it will be big spoilers, but everything is not as it seems in this book and it keeps you on the edge of your feet. Just when you think you know something, there's little bits of breadcrumbs that you get that you're thinking this isn't really adding up, and I just love that in a book. And the second one, we get more POVs, we get another male main character who I'm absolutely obsessed with. The female main character really comes into her own and there's just so much more that you learn about these characters and this world. Oh, it's just so good. So if you haven't read it, highly recommend this one. Okay, so staying on the topic of Viking romantasy, we have Broken Souls and Bones by LJ Andrews. Now I have read this author's work before and I do actually have her other book in this pile, but this is really underrated. I do not hear people talking about this. I think when I looked at the reviews of this, it kept putting me off reading this because I saw that they weren't that good on Goodreads. I went into this quite skeptical but ended up rating it 4 stars, and now I think it's really unique. It's definitely got a very unique concept in this that I can't really explain because again, spoiler, but it adds so much mystery to the plot. This follows a female main character, Lyra. She is basically in hiding because she has a very special power. She is a melder. What she can do is basically meld bones into people, which gives them magical abilities. It kind of enhances them and gives them power. These bones can sort of protrude out of the skin, so you can actually recognize when people have these magical bones in them, which does actually kind of remind me of Shadow and Bone a little bit. So she's in hiding. The king's deadly captain goes to her village and discovers her because it's quite hard to hide her power because she has these silver scars in her eyes. He takes her back to the kingdom. The king wants to use her to enhance his soldiers' power, but every time she uses these bones on his soldiers, an enemy kingdom attacks and you don't really know why or why they're trying to stop her from doing this. So the captain actually ends up becoming her bodyguard, and again, things just aren't really as it seems. There's a lot of questions here. There was a storyline in here, like I said at the beginning, that was just keeping me on the edge of my seat. The whole time I was just trying to guess, and I was so happy that the storyline went in that way. I just thought it was very unique and I really can't wait for the second book. Next we have This Monster of Mine by Shalani Abasakara. Now this was a really good autumn winter read because it's definitely on the darker side. I really was not expecting to love this as much as I did. It's quite a short book but it really packs a punch. Now this follows our female main character. She lives in a very dangerous sort of corrupt world, but she was basically almost unalived a few years ago when she was younger, and she's going back to the scene of the crime and wants to solve her own attempted murder because the judges, they pretty much dismissed her case and there's not really a lot of details about her. She has quite a lot of history and past with this place and she wants to go back and find some answers. So that is exactly what she does, and she works for one of the 4 judges. He is usually someone who works alone. He doesn't normally recruit someone to be his kind of assistant, but he chooses her out of everyone, and I really enjoyed his character. I thought it was really good. There's so much mystery in here. It's literally a murder mystery where you cannot trust anyone. You learn so much about what is actually going on in this world, why new prosecutors are being unalived. It was not just her who was almost murdered, it is also the other prosecutors. So she's just trying to uncover this whole web of secrets. Really, really interesting. This can actually read as a standalone, even though that I've just realised that it isn't. There is a second book coming out this year, but I am very excited to pick up the second book and see where this story could go. Okay, so next is The Scarlet Veil. Now, if you want a traditional vampire book, this is the one. This is actually connected to the Serpent and Dove universe, but I haven't actually read that series, and I went straight into this, and I do think that you can read this without having to read that series. I do think you will definitely get more background on the other characters in this, but I don't necessarily think that you need to read it, and I didn't, and I really enjoyed myself, and I still recommend this book. So this is definitely more set in like olden times. She is now a captain of the guard with her husband, but he doesn't really take her seriously. He doesn't really respect her decisions and her choices, so it's not really the best dynamic there. But this is kind of like a murder mystery with vampires. I mean, there's kind of a common theme here that I love a murder mystery, I think. But bodies are showing up with punch wounds in the neck, and she ends up meeting a vampire who is our MMC. He ends up basically taking her to his kingdom, kind of becomes his captive, and she gets thrust into the world of all the vampires. But they do end up trying to solve these murders together, because even he isn't really sure what is going on here. It's very secret and seductive. This is actually a YA book, but there is now the second book out, and I do need to read it, but I might save it for like autumn winter months, because I do think this is the perfect gothic type of atmosphere, especially October, because there's like familial cats as well. There is a cat in this who I absolutely love. Like, he's very sassy, and I think you'll really love his character. Next, I had to add City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards onto this list, because the whole House of Devil series is absolutely god tier romantasy for me. I mean, it's urban fantasy. If you love urban fantasy, you will absolutely devour this. This is everything I could possibly want in a book and more, and I don't see people rave about this as much. It has just been traditionally published though, so maybe more people will end up reading it. This has my #1 book boyfriend in it. It has the best found family. It's literally up there with Throne of Glass and Fourth Wing for me. Like, I find it so hard to pick what I love more. It's honestly that good. So this follows our female main character Loren. Now, she is a human living in a really dangerous world where there's wolves, vampires, dark slayers, demons. Like, it's got every single creature that you could think of under the sun, angels. And now the dark slayers are basically magical bounty hunters, so they can read people's auras and they can tell whether you're kind of evil or good. Now, Darien Castle, our male main character in this, he's the biggest, baddest, scariest dark slayer, and he gets tasked to unalive Loren. So he goes off to unalive Loren, but as soon as he sees her, he realizes that her aura is actually white, and that means that she's quite good. He's trying to figure out why someone is paying him so much money to unalive this sweet, innocent human, and instead of unaliving her, he kind of saves her because there's other people who are after her as well. And he's more intrigued on what is so special about this girl that everyone is trying to unalive, and it ends up becoming her bodyguard. The best slow burn tension ever. The spice in these books is literally perfection. He is the definition of pathetically down bad, and I just love this man. Everything about this book, the world, the creatures, the found family, I just don't think it gets better than this. Okay, so I know people have been talking about this more, but this is one of my recent reads, and I just feel like I need to talk about this somewhere, so I'm gonna add it into this list, and that is Riftborn and Dustbound by Greenwich and Lennox. These books, I feel like people need to be talking about them more, honestly. The first book is great. It is not world shattering, but you need to read this to get to the second book, because everything will make sense once you've read the second book. But this follows our female main character. She is now living in a world where they've kind of won a war. There was a rebellion that rised up, and it was crushed by the king who rules this kingdom. Because her parents were part of the rebellion or part of that kingdom, she is branded as a Riftborn. So they wear a brand, and there's not many of them left because a lot of people try to unalive them. So she has a target on her back by having this brand. But she lives with her friend, has quite a simple life, works in an apothecary. There's nothing too interesting about her until you get to know what her power is. She is suppressing her powers. She ends up at a high society event unaliving two young prim and proper ladies, and the captain of the guard sees it and ends up using her, blackmailing her into his special elite guard to fight in this war that she actually didn't really know was going on. So this whole time there's a war going on that the citizens don't even know about, and there's a lot of secrecy here. You don't really actually know what is going on, and it's just about her transitioning from her life training and being sent into the war. So there is some training aspect to this, which I really enjoyed. But then the second book, I'm obviously not going to explain what happens, but the cliffhanger from the first book leaves you so excited to read the second. I absolutely devoured this. This was 5 stars for me. I think I rated the first one 4 stars. This has everything that I could possibly want in romantasy, hence why I've given it 5 stars. Okay, so next we have The Ever King by L.J. Andrews. This is the other book of hers. So this is pirate romantasy. I am a sucker for pirate romantasy. This is actually quite dark. I've kind of noticed the theme of her books are a bit more on the darker side with romantasy. So this follows our 2 main characters. So our main character is a king of the sea. So he is basically trapped by a curse under the sea by our female main character's people. So she is a princess of her kingdom on land. So they are supposed to be mortal enemies. Now they actually meet when they're younger. This is right at the beginning of the book. It's not a spoiler. They do meet when they're young, but he is in prison at this time, so she visits him in his cell. He ends up escaping and actually promises to come back for her. And then we skip to the day that he kidnaps her. Yep. He kidnaps her and takes her to his kingdom, and the story just goes from there. I don't want to talk too much. There is a reason why he does kidnap her. There's a lot going on underneath the sea that you don't really realise, and it is quite a brutal world where he lives in. But I do think it's another one that's really underrated. If you want to read something that's a little bit different, maybe get into pirate romantasy, I'd highly recommend this one. Okay, so next we have The Witch's Pet by Crimanally Andrews. Now this is criminally underhyped. I absolutely devoured this. I read this again in autumn winter time. I think it's the perfect time to read it. It's a very witchy, atmospheric read. The writing reminds me of Rachel Gillig. Honestly, it was so atmospheric and gothic. But if you love Dorian Havillard from Throne of Glass, you're going to absolutely love this MMC. He is flirty, he's emotionally intelligent, and I was absolutely obsessed with him. But this follows our 2 main characters. So our female main character lives in one kingdom and our male main character lives in the other. He is a mage, so they're part of like the witches, and she is a human. They're also quite religious where she's from. Their kingdoms are enemies. They absolutely hate each other. The humans think that the witches and mages are monsters, but because they've been at war with each other for so long, they want to put an end to that. So both kingdoms force a marriage and an alliance so that they can put an end to this war. So the female main character gets sent to his kingdom. Now she has been veiled pretty much her whole life, or since she was like 12 years old. So she doesn't even know what she looks like, and it really kind of gives me From Blood and Ash vibes with this. But she gets sent over there, she has to take her veil off, and so he doesn't even know who he's marrying or what she looks like. But because he's reluctant to marry her as well, he pretty much just locks her in his tower and leaves her there. But it's forced proximity. It's pretty much romance forward, but I do think towards the end, and especially in the second book that we're gonna get, it's gonna be more about the world. Like, it's so much more interesting than what you think. There's like magic and potions, and his power is really interesting as well. The world is very magical. There's like this little fairy goblin thing that she befriends, and he's so grumpy. But it is kind of just about their dynamic, why she was married to him to humiliate him and his bloodline. I just think if you want a very magical book that is silly, fun, flirty, and has Rachel Gillig gothic atmosphere, this will probably be the one for you. I'd also recommend A Dance of Lies by Brittany Arena. Well, this was such a beautiful read, and I always think about it. This follows a female character. She is a dancer who works for the king in her kingdom. So there's basically 3 kingdoms in this. They're all brothers, and they aren't very close, to be honest. They're all quite horrible, apart from one who's very eccentric, very out there, kind of puts a guard up with humour. But the king that she works for is not very nice. She has basically been his dancer for years, but all of a sudden one night he just basically frames her for a murder and imprisons her. And in her imprisonment, her movement is debilitated. She can't dance or move the way that she used to. She's in a lot of pain. So I really enjoyed the chronic illness representation in this. It was very intriguing to see that put into a romantasy setting, especially because we read about female main characters who are strong assassins who come into their powers. Like, she is not like that, and I thought it was really refreshing. She isn't weak by any means, but she uses dance to captivate people and to tell a story, and she's just very clever, very calculated. I really enjoyed her as a female main character. She really stood out for me. But she ends up getting released from prison, and the king wants her to spy on his brother in the enemy kingdom, the one who is very humorous and very glamorous. They kind of hold this like theatre performance every year, I believe. Dancers come from all over the kingdom to perform for the king, so it places everyone in one kingdom at the same time, and it doesn't come around very often that you're invited to dance for the kingdoms. So he takes her out of prison, wants her to somehow move the way that she used to, and then dazzle the king in the other kingdom and just spy on him. She does all that she can to get the king's ear and his attention. The magic in this isn't really at the forefront, so there's a lot going on in this, a lot of things that she has to infiltrate and do. So she's building these relationships but with a fake agenda, and it's just really, really good. I would highly recommend this one. So we have Seven of Earth by Sarah Hawley. This is a really good book. If you love a typical fae book, you will absolutely devour this. I really enjoyed the trial aspect in this. This follows a female main character, Kenna. So she lives in quite a religious poor village. The girls in the village get selected to go across this bog in this forest to basically have a better life with the fae, but they've never actually seen the fae. They don't know what is beyond these woods. They just have faith that the fae will take them in and look after them and have a better life there, and it's supposed to stop them from attacking their village. So when her friend gets selected to participate in this sort of ritual, she ends up going with her. She ends up in this fae kingdom, and it all just goes from there. There's different elemental fae in this, which I really enjoyed. There's like fire, earth, but she ends up having to work for the princess of Earth House and has to help the Earth princess come into her powers during this trial. So Kenna ends up kind of entering these trials herself and trying to figure out a way to win them while being a human in fae territory and trying to survive. I think this book is really good. I think the second book is going to be even better, and it's actually quite criminal that I haven't read it yet, but it's definitely another one on my high priority. I feel like this could turn into a really great romantasy series. I think it's a great first book to set up for the rest of the story, and I can already see where it's heading, and I'm really excited about it. Okay, and lastly we have Amid Clouds and Bones by Ella Fields. This is a romantasy standalone, so along the lines of the fae again. This is typical mean fae. If you like the cruel prince and the bully aspect of Cruel Prince, it's a very short book, but it really packs a punch, and is one that I haven't been able to get out of my head. There's a plot twist in here that is going to have you absolutely baffled. It's going to turn everything on its head, and you're going to look at the story completely differently. It follows our female main character. She is basically forced into this marriage with this evil fae man prince, and he absolutely hates her as well. They absolutely hate each other. They are forced into this alliance together. They literally like poison each other and laugh about it. It is definitely a spicy time, and I can see why it probably wouldn't be for everyone, but I loved it. If you want the Cruel Prince but spicier, this is the one to go for. I don't want to say too much because obviously it is a standalone and I don't want to give the plot away. It has a shock factor plot twist, actual enemies that hate each other, a very dangerous world and mystery. There's so much more than meets the eye. Definitely redemption arc for some of the characters as well. I just had such a fun time, so I think if you just want a palette cleanser, then this is probably the one to pick up and just binge and have a giggly fun time. So that is all of the books that I would recommend that are very underrated. Let me know if you've read any of them and what you think, or if you're going to add any to your TBR, or let me know if you have any recommendations for me that you think are underrated. I would love to pick those books up and see what they're all about. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you again in my next video.